Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Todd Coons, and if you haven't been here before, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. So we all know that we do photography because we enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. You know, it's not just a job that we do to make a living. It's something we do for fun. But if we are making a living or trying to make a living as a photographer, there are some business questions we have to ask ourselves, which is unfortunate, but it's true. I'm going to talk today in regards to stock photography, the time that I put into it compared to the amount of money that I make. Is it worth it? There's some different ways we can look at this. I used to work with a guy years ago who did everything in his photo business based on an hourly rate. He wanted to make $25 an hour for every hour that he was working. Now, if you run your own studio or you've done your own business, you know that there's a lot of time when you're not directly making an income, but you're working. For instance, if you're a wedding photographer, you spend a lot of time marketing yourself, getting the word out, sitting down with a bride and groom, discussing their wedding, and until they actually book you and you go to the wedding and get a paycheck, you didn't actually make money for all those hours that you were putting into it to begin with. But my friend's theory was he wanted to make $25 an hour for every hour he was working. So if he did a wedding and there were 25 hours worth of work in a wedding, but he was only getting paid the day of the wedding, which was, say, 8 hours, for those other 17 hours that he was working, it needed to translate to $25 an hour. Now, that's an interesting way of looking at things, and I think it makes a lot of sense because we have to take into account all the time we spend doing a job. Not just the amount of money we make for the actual job, but how much time goes into it completely. When it comes to stock photography, however, it's a little bit different, so I think the best way to do this is for me to kind of break down how I spend my time based on what I'm bringing in as far as income. Now, you guys can kind of decide for yourselves what works in your life. I'll come up with some conclusions at the end, what works in my life and my business, and we'll just go from there. Now, when it comes to stock photography, it is crystal clear that quantity is a big deal. The more images you have, the more sales potential that you will have each month. It's a numbers game for sure. The more images that you create and upload, the more chances you're going to have more sales. I think, however, I have to put in a little bit of a disclaimer because I personally would rather have 100 quality images than 1,000 non-quality images. And let me just say, when I say quality images, I'm talking about images that will sell. Some images don't sell very well, other images sell very well. So I would rather have a lower number of good sellers than a high number of bad sellers. So as a goal, we're trying to create a large number of images for our portfolio, but we also want good images that will sell and have potential for more buyers. Now let me just give you a little bit of a breakdown month to month how I spend my time. Now if you've watched a couple videos ago, you know I just recently left my full-time job. I am now in this studio full-time, knocking on every door I can for freelance work and doing a lot of different things, but stock is a big priority right now. And so here's how I spend my time each and every week. Every morning when I walk into the studio, the first thing that I do is I upload images to the 5 agencies that I'm on. Now, I am on 123RF, Adobe Stock, Dreamstime, iStock, and Shutterstock. Those are the 5 agencies that I am still with. There are different opinions on how many agencies you should be a part of. There are some photographers that believe you should only be part of one and be exclusive to that one. I'm kind of indifferent on that. So I'm with those 5 agencies, and the first thing I do when I sit in this chair every morning is I upload a handful of images to all 5 agencies. So I am able to upload 5, 6, 7 different images to each agency every morning, partly because I was so far behind on all these images that I had created over the last couple of years that I just hadn't uploaded them. I hadn't made the time to do that. So they've been sitting there for a long time, and now that I have the time, I can send those in. It takes me about 45 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, an hour, depending on how sporadically, my mind is first thing in the morning. But let's just say an hour. Let's round it up to an hour. That's an hour a day, 5 days a week 5 hours for the week. Each agency is a little bit different. Some of them go a whole lot faster. And I don't know if that's sometimes my computer speed or my internet speed. The time that I spend shooting stock images each week kind of varies based on what kind of shoot that I do. If you watched my videos before, you know that I carry a camera with me almost everywhere I go. Just happen to see a sunset, I've got my camera, I take the picture. I happen to be doing a hike, there's a waterfall, I take a picture. Whatever the case may be. If I'm in downtown Charlotte or some city somewhere, I take a picture of the buildings. I always have that camera with me. So I'm going to say that there's not a lot of time spent there. I'm doing things that I would normally do anyway. I just happen to have a camera with me to take the photograph. Now those aren't very planned shoots, and they're not always the greatest photographs because I might not be there at the perfect time of day or whatever. But I'm going to say that those images really don't cost me a lot of time because I was doing those types of things anyway. I just happen to have my camera with me. I also do a lot of photos for stock photography where maybe I'm doing some home improvement project, or, the other day I made some cookies in the house. We happened to have some cookie dough, so I was making cookies, and I stopped and took a little bit of time to take some photographs for stock. So I take these life opportunities that are happening. I'm remodeling the house, I'm painting, whatever. I take a second, take some photographs. There's a little bit of time that I have to spend doing that because I might bring in some lighting. So let's say in the course of a month, those types of things, I'm going to say maybe 5 hours. That's probably from month to month, it's different, but I'm going to say maybe 5 hours a month I spend taking the time in a life opportunity to take some stock photography. And then, of course, you have those actual planned photo shoots where I spend a specific amount of time doing a specific photo shoot. I did a shot just recently and I documented it on this channel where I was taking some pictures of a trash can and different things going into it. I took about 2 to 3 hours actually in the studio doing those photos. By the time I set up the lights, actually took the shot. It takes me a little bit longer because I'm filming for this channel, but by the time you set up the lights, take the pictures, get everything the way you want it, I've invested about 2 to 3 hours. If I do a photo shoot where I've got models, now we've got a little extra time because I've spent some time in the front end, booking models, talking to people, discussing what they need to wear. And so you've got an hour or two invested in the preparation of a photo shoot like that you have to take into consideration. So for the trash can shoot, I also had to purchase the trash can, which, obviously that took me a little bit of time. In that case, I didn't specifically go out looking for a trash can. I happened to be in a store one day and saw it, and I had kind of had a vision for these photos a while back. And when I saw the trash can, I thought that's perfect, and I got it. So again, not a lot of time spent getting the props because I just happened to see it when I was out and about one day. But if you plan a photo shoot and you go out specifically searching for those props, you're probably going to spend an hour or two at the store. So of those 3 ways that I acquire stock photographs, or the way I create stock photographs, the next step with any of them is I have to bring them into the computer, I have to edit them, and that takes some time, obviously. I am a big believer, however, to get things as perfect and as right in the camera as you can so that you're not spending a great deal of time in post-processing. Some images will take more time than others, but for the most part, I don't spend a great deal of time in the editing process. So I bring things into Lightroom, flag the ones that I like, weed that down to just those, and then I go through again and I get down to the ones that I think are going to be the best potential stock selling images, and I process those. Typically, I don't need to do a lot of retouching, a little contrast, maybe a little color correction, little tweaks here or there, and then I output them to a folder that I called Waiting to Keyword, where then they will go on to the next step. Now, if any images need more retouching to that, maybe removing logos or anything like that, I will bring it into Photoshop and I'll spend a little more time. A lot of times if I do product work, I will actually cut them off the background to make the background a little cleaner. That does take a whole lot more time and it's got to be considered as far as the time that you spend. However, it's kind of this balance. If I cut it off of a background that's a little on the muddy side and put it on a clean white background, for instance, is it going to sell better by being this nice clean image and make it worth spending a little more time doing the retouching? That's something you got to decide for yourself. Then comes the next step in the process, which I think is probably the most boring, time-consuming part of the whole thing, and that is to put descriptions on all of the images and keyword all of the images. The keywords are going to be the words that are used when somebody searches for an image. And those keywords are essential for buyers to find your images. So what I do is I bring all those images into Adobe Bridge. I go into the metadata. I'm able to add all these things on. And trust me, guys, when I say do it at this point rather than do it when you upload them to the agencies, because it's going to save you a lot of time, even though there is time involved here. And I sit down once a month with all of the images that I've taken over the course of the month, and this is when I do that. Now, if I have a specific shoot, like the trash can shoot that I just did recently, I think that might have produced 8 or 10 shots. I will do those right away, but in the course of a month, I am probably spending 3 to 5 hours, I'm going to say, on this particular process. If you do this right in Adobe Bridge or whatever software you use, it will save you a great deal of time when we get to the next step, which is uploading them to the agencies. Now, like I said, every morning I am sitting here for an hour. When you get to the uploading stage, every agency is a little bit different. Some of them I can do very, very quickly. Some of them, there's a couple little extra steps. Dreams Time, for instance, probably the slowest as far as uploading them to the site itself, as opposed to, say, Adobe or 123RF. Those seem to go a lot faster. So different agencies do different things, but if you have keyworded and you have added descriptions prior to uploading them to the agencies, all that metadata just flows right into the site and it's already there for you. It's done. One thing I will say, I've made this mistake many times, I have a tendency to type the description very quickly. Go back and read it. Make sure you spelled things correctly. I can't tell you how many times I've caught myself later thinking, and it's just a typo. It's not that I'm an idiot. Usually it's just a typo, but just double check what you've written. You spell something wrong, it may not ever get found in a search because you spelled it wrong. So double check. Certainly worth doing it right the first time. Let me say this real quick about rejections, because if you are in the stock market selling your photographs on different agencies, I guarantee you will deal with rejections. And it's interesting to me because one stock agency will take it, another stock agency will reject it, and it boggles my mind what gets rejected and what doesn't, and who takes it and who doesn't, because the one that gets rejected by one agency is accepted by another, and it sells all the time. So it's very bizarre to me. But my rule of thumb is if something gets rejected, by and large, I just let it go. I do not chase trying to fix an image to please a different agency. If they say there's a technical issue or there's noise or, for whatever reason they say they don't want to take it, you could spend a lot of time trying to make it right to where they will take it. And when I started, I used to try to fix everything so that they would take everything, and it's just not worth it. That's a time burglar that I just don't go down that road anymore. If it gets rejected, I just let it go. Typically another agency has taken it, and so I know it's out there. Subject matter is a big deal, guys. When it comes to the time that you spend, there are certain things that just don't sell very well. Things that don't sell but are easy to photograph: flowers, sunsets. I've been to the beach many times where I take a bunch of ocean pictures where the sun is coming up or going down, and they're beautiful photographs. The problem, however, is that everybody on the stock agencies has been taking those photos for years, and sunsets don't really change. So a shot that was taken 10 or 15 years ago still looks great today, and the competition on those images is just so high, they just typically don't sell very well. Every spring I go out and take photos of the dogwood trees. They're beautiful. I can't help myself. I take the photos, I send them in. They usually get accepted. They rarely sell. One of the things I think you have to have as a stock photographer is thick skin, because not only are you going to have things that are rejected, you're going to have images that you absolutely love, you think they're fantastic, that just never sell. And then the other thing that'll happen is you'll have things that you really don't care about this photograph. You think it's okay, and it'll sell like crazy and just boggle your mind. Some examples of some images that sort of surprised me is this one here of the Earth. I got this Earth shot from NASA, and you can get permission to use these images. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I put a mask on it. Now, in my mind, I thought, Yeah, I saw it on Time magazine cover or something. It just made a lot of sense. The whole Earth was locking down and the whole planet was starting to wear masks, and so I thought, this is a great concept. This image has never sold even once. Same thing was true when I did the Earth with the recycle sign around it, but the recycle sign was made out of money. I thought this is really a great concept. Now this image has sold, but it doesn't sell very often. I mean, it's sold maybe a dozen times in the last 10 years. A couple of other images that have surprised me are just simple things. For instance, there were a couple of times when I had a coffee cup, and when I got it from whatever coffee house I went to that morning, I noticed that it was just a very generic coffee mug. Paper cup, plain lid, no logos, no markings on it, and so I thought I should just take a photo of this. Same thing with the soda cup I had one time. It was one of those 32-ounce kind of things. No logo, no markings on it. These images sell like crazy. They sell every month on all the agencies. I mean, I'm not becoming a millionaire from these images by any means, but they are regular sellers year after year after year. Just simple, generic items. Now, you also have those what I'll call like the one-hit wonder. This image right here it was a portrait shoot, and I worked a deal with these people that if they would sign a model release, I gave them a better price to do the photos. Sometimes I'll even do a free photo session. And the thinking behind that for me is that I'm going to be able to upload these to the agencies and make some money. Now, this little baby, adorable photograph, I think it's probably only sold once or twice. But to this day, this photo of this baby has the highest one-time sale that I've ever had. It sold, my portion of it was $125, I think. I've not had anything even come close to that for one sale. So it's only sold a couple, 2 or 3 times ever, but that one sale was the highest sale I've ever had. Now, the other thing to keep in mind, and I think the old adage is true, you have to spend money to make money. There's a lot of truth to that when it comes to stock photography. And I've spent money over the years to do certain things. Sometimes if you hire a model, you're going to actually pay them to bring them in. If you buy props or clothing that they're going to wear, that's going to cost you a little bit of money. But here's a couple of photo shoots that I've done of kids that I dressed up as superheroes. Those always seem to sell very well, but I had to spend a little bit of money to do it. I also did a photo shoot where I photographed cleaning supplies. Knowing that those just generic everyday things sell well, I actually went to the dollar store, spent $10, $12 on items, brought them into the studio, photographed them on a white seamless, spent the money to make the money. In the cleaning product video, I think within about a month, I had made up my $12 and then some. Usually, spending money to make money is a good thing, especially when it comes to people, because people photographs seem to be the best sellers. They certainly are for me. You just have to deal with that extra cost and, involvement in bringing people into your photographs, and of course the model releases and all that. A little extra time, but well worth it when it comes to the income versus the time you're going to spend dealing with people. So when we put all of that together, the big question is stock photography worth the time and effort that we put into it based on the income that we're bringing in? I figure at this moment, I'm probably putting in about 40 to 50 hours a month. That's going to change a little bit because I don't think I'm going to do my hour every morning. Once I get caught up on all my back uploading, if you will, once I get those images up to the stock agencies, I won't have as many images to upload. So I think that that's going to decrease a little bit. But at the moment, I'm guessing I'm putting in about 40 to 50 hours a month. My income is about $50 to $100 a month. So you do the math. I'm making about $1 to $2 an hour. Is it worth it? No, it's not. It's not worth it. Now, coming to that conclusion, does that mean I'm going to stop doing stock photography? No, I'm not going to stop doing stock photography, but it is going to make me think, how am I spending my time? How can I spend my time better? How can I increase sales so that hourly rate goes up? And it needs to go up significantly. Let's face it, $2 an hour is not going to cut it. Keep in mind, I'm not really paying my bills with stock photography. It's just a supplemental thing that I do, but it needs to be more proficient. One of the things that I'm trying to change, and obviously I'm uploading more, there is an increase in sales when you upload more and consistently. That's why I'm doing every morning. I could spend one day, spend the entire day and upload all of those images, but there seems to be an advantage to doing a little bit at a time. So if I stop doing every morning, maybe I just do Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and then I get to a point where maybe I only upload every Monday. That would be fine. I'm going to spend less time, but I'm still going to be consistently uploading, because that consistency, and I've read this many times, plus I've seen it in my own life, the consistency seems to generate sales. Now, over the last month when I've been more consistent, I have seen sales go up on 2 of the agencies, Shutterstock for sure, and definitely Adobe Stock. Those 2 agencies, I've seen an increase in sales. Now with Shutterstock, we've got another issue because they've got a royalty conundrum. A lot of people are upset about it. I've seen my sales go up. However, I've not seen the income go up as much. Adobe is probably my #1 recommendation if you want to get into it right now. But consistently uploading to Adobe over the last month, I've definitely seen the number of sales go up as well as the amount of earnings. And the last thing I want to throw out here, guys, is this, and this is certainly true in my life. Think about it for yourself. I love photography. I can work all day shooting product stuff, and then I still want to go out and hike and take pictures in the evening. I don't get burnt out. I love taking photographs. It's what I do. So stock photography for me is an outlet to make some money with all those photographs that I take. If I go on vacation, I'm going to take my camera, I'm going to take pictures. It's just what I do. So even though the hourly rate at stock photography, at the level that I'm playing, believe me, you can make a living at stock photography if you want to, but at the level that I'm playing at, I'm not earning enough money to somewhat justify the time, but I still am going to be out taking these photographs because it's what I love to do. And so in some ways, I think being in the stock photography game, I can be making money at those photographs. Even if it's not a great deal of money, it is some money. And so therefore, it's just worth it. So guys, if you could leave me a comment, I would love to hear your thoughts. If you are doing stock photography and you've kind of thought about the time versus income thing, ways you've overcome it, how much time you put into it, how much money you make. You know, if you're not doing stock photography, but you're thinking about it, let me know your thoughts about that as well. I would love to hear it. And if you could give me a thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate that. And as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Little sneak peek, the next video is video number 100. So a little milestone, but I will see you guys in that video. And as always, thanks for watching.